Clothes were invented during the pre-industrial age. Clothing served both functional and symbolic purposes in early societies. Prehistoric humans created clothing using materials readily available in their environments, such as animal hides and plant fibers. But it wasn't just to keep warm. These garments were often fashioned with bones, feathers, or flowers, in what we can see as the embers of the fashion industry. During the pre-industrial age, people discovered fire, developed paper from plants, and forged weapons and tools with stone, bronze, copper, and iron. Examples: cave painting 35,000 BC, clay tablets in Mesopotamia 2400 BC, papyrus in Egypt 2500 BC, Acta Diurna in Rome 130 BC, Dibao in China 2nd century, Codex in the Mayan region 5th century, printing press using wood blocks 220 AD. The pre-industrial revolution, 1500 to 1700, uses the cloth industry in Whitney, a small Oxfordshire market town, as an example of the many themes of both the pre- and main industrial revolution. During the onset of the Industrial Revolution, there were remarkable shifts in technology and the very structure of work itself. These changes, however, did not necessarily translate into improved conditions or benefits for the labor force. Despite the challenging circumstances, including a decline in employment opportunities and stagnant real wages, the woven blanket industry continued to serve as the economic backbone of Whitney for an astonishing 2 more centuries. This enduring reliance on the woven blanket industry in Whitney serves as a poignant illustration of how certain economic sectors managed to persist and adapt throughout periods of profound change.
Fertility and mortality. Death rates in pre-industrial societies were very high, especially among infants and young children. To compensate for high infant and child death rates, women give birth to about 7 in their lifetime, excluding miscarriages. This number would have been much higher in the past. Unfortunately, infant mortality was so prevalent that records are very scarce and likely underreported. But conservative estimates suggest that about a quarter of all newborns do not reach their first birthday, and only half of those born will reach their teens. In most years, birth rates exceed death rates, leading to population growth, but pandemics frequently cause death rates spikes, reducing average population growth during longer periods. Birth of inequality. The two specific forms of pre-industrial society are hunter-gatherer societies and feudal societies. A hunter-gatherer society are society in which most of all food is obtained by gathering wild plants and hunting wild animals. In contrast to agricultural societies that rely mainly on wild animals, they tend to have relatively non-hierarchical, egalitarian social structures, often including a high levels of gender equality. Only a few modern societies are classified as hunter-gatherers, and many supplement their foraging activities with agriculture or raising domesticated animals. While feudalism was a set of legal and military customs in medieval Europe that flourished between the 19th and 15th centuries. In general, feudalism structured society around relationship based on land ownership. Feudal lords were landowners. In exchange for land to live and farm, serfs offered to provide services or work to the lord.
Just as the dot-coms were integral to the 1990s, it was particular inventions during the first industrial revolution that made this epoch unique. Without all of the periods longevity, many of the basic goods and services we use today wouldn't exist. So whether the era's adventurers souls dare to tinker with existing inventions or to dream of something brand new or wanting for sure, the Industrial Revolutions changed the course of human history. The main features involved in the Industrial Revolution were technological, socio-economic, and cultural. The technological changes include the following. First is the use of new materials, chiefly iron and steel. Second is the use of new energy sources, including both fuels and motive power, such as coal, the steam engine, electricity, petroleum, and the internal combustion engine. Third is the invention of new machines, such as spinning jenny and the power loom that permitted increased production with a smaller expenditure of human energy. Fourth is a new organization of work known as the factory system, which entailed increased division of labor and specialization of function. Fifth, important developments is transportation and communication, including the steam locomotive, steamship, automobile, airplane, telegraph and radio, and the sixth, increasing application of science to industry.
Long hours and minimal breaks. Although industrial revolution occurred approximately 200 years ago, it is a period that left a profound impact on how people live and the way businesses operated. Arguably, the factory system developed during the Industrial Revolution are responsible for creating capitalism in the modern cities of today. Before this period, most households made their living farming and lived primarily in small rural communities. With the advent of factories during the 18th century, people began working for companies located in urban areas for the first time. Often the wages were very low and conditions were harsh. However, working for such businesses still paid a better living wage than farming. Child labor. During the Industrial Revolution in the United States, many of new jobs were created. Many of workers who filled these new jobs were children. The problem of child labor was not that children were working, but rather they were being exploited or taken advantage of in the workplace. Children were often preferred employees over adults. Instead of paying higher wages for adults to perform the same duties, children could be employed at a much cheaper rate. They were working long hours for little pay in unsafe working conditions, not permitting them to be children and get an education.
News and electronic age. The device that gave birth to an electronic age rooted in this new physics became known as the vacuum tube, and eventually two men figure in the story of its creations, the Englishman Ambrose Fleming and the American Lily Forrest. In fact, of course, its origins are more complex and woven from many threads, which crisscross Europe and the Atlantic and stretch back as far as the early Leyden jar experiments of the mid-century.
Cell phones now are a personal and portable device that allows us to connect nearly everything in our lives. Digital form screens are no longer used for applications. They are necessary duties that are strongly related to our personal and professional lives. Nothing is isolated in the digital age. Everything is supplement. The element and characteristic of digital age lead to the tendency of organizational strategy movements in the technological market.
High-tech communication gadgets and systems have created problems of their own. Voice mailboxes are filled with unintelligible messages and rambling diatribes, and email recipients are spending hours answering electronic correspondence. Much of this is junk mail from senders they don't know. According to Christina Haas of Kent State University Centers for Workplace Literacy, an organization that conducts field-based research on how information is communicated in the workplace. Ethic experts says users can become part of the solution by exercising courtesy and common sense. They offered the following tips for communicating in the electronic age.
Digital computers were constructed in the electronic age around electrical switches and electromagnetic relays. The mechanical gadgets invented during this time period were controlled by electrical switches. Because computers are used to store and transmit information, the period was also known as the Information Age. The vacuum tube was invented during this time period. Three American physicists, William Shockley, John Bardeen, and Walter Brattain, created a device called the transistor in 1947, which helped change the electronic age. Computers can learn human emotion as artificial intelligence and machine learning technology advance. This allowed them to make decisions that people should have created.
The September 11 attacks or 9/11 attacks is a series of airline hijacking and suicide attacks committed by 19 militants associated with the Islamic extremist group Al-Qaeda against United States. The 9/11 attacks is considered as the most deadliest terrorist attack on American soil in US history. The attacks in New York City and Washington D.C. has caused an extensive death and destruction and triggered an enormous U.S. effort to combat terrorism. 2,700 people were killed at New York City, while 184 at the Pentagon and 40 in Pennsylvania, where one of the hijacked planes crashed onto the ground after passengers attempted to retake the plane. One of the biggest trends of the new age is the TikTok app. TikTok is a social media platform that allows users to create, share, and discover short-form video content. It was launched in September 2016 by the Chinese company ByteDance and has since gained widespread popularity worldwide. TikTok enables users to create videos that are typically 15 to 60 seconds long and often set to music or audio clips. TikTok has become particularly popular among younger audiences and had a significant impact on the internet culture, influencing trends, memes, and the music industry. However, it has also faced security scrutiny and regulatory challenges in various countries over concerns related to data privacy, content moderation, and its Chinese ownership.
Issues. In today's driven society, millions of people are involved in collecting, handling, and distributing information. This information age represents unique challenges, including privacy, accuracy, property, and accessibility. Information forms the intellectual capital that human beings craft their lives and secure dignity. Privacy concerns include what information should be revealed, under what conditions, and with what safeguards. Accuracy concerns involve who is responsible for information authenticity and fidelity, with property concerns involve who owns information and how access to it should be allocated. Accessibility concerns involve what information a person or organization has a right to obtain under certain conditions. The information age has revolutionized the scientific world, allowing for large-scale studies and the development of bioinformatics. Digital technologies have automated experimental techniques, enabling scientists to perform large-scale studies. Advancement in computing capabilities have also transformed how scientific findings are communicated and data is shared. The Internet has transformed how scientific findings are communicated and data is shared. The development of HeLa cells in 1950s opened new areas of research and provided scientific with tools to perform studies never before possible, forever changing the world of science.